Hello and welcome to a brand spanking new Crafty Simulations video. Now you join me on the home of general aviation in-flight simulation content channel, and well, what you see before you is not a general aviation aircraft by any stretch of the imagination. This is the brand spanking new Airplane Heaven Hurricane Mark 1. Now, before you start going, oh, well, you know, this is not a general aviation aircraft, you know, all that kind of stuff. I've been keeping tabs on this aircraft as it was being created. And I was very interested very quickly in the early idea for this aircraft, the in-flight simulator. Not just a Hurricane in general, but in this particular Hurricane, because there was something that I believe is extremely important in flight simulation, and something that was an addition to this project that made me just stand up and go, you know, so this aircraft actually could be something really, really good. And that is the sounds. Now, I've always said, you know, we've had some pretty damn good looking aircraft here in Flight Simulator, and that's not a lie. There's some great general aviation aircraft here in the sim. There's some great aircraft all across the whole spectrum of aviation on Flight Simulator. But the sounds are, in my view, just as important, because if you have an aircraft that is trying to be a representation, a virtual representation of a particular aircraft, then it doesn't just have to have the looks of that particular aircraft or the functionality of that particular aircraft, but it has to have the sounds and the feel and the soul of that aircraft. And like I said, when this one was announced, and the whole idea of a collaboration between between Airplane Heaven, who created this aircraft, and the company that created the sounds, because I've dealt with this company before, and I know they are very, very good on their sounds. And it just made me immediately want to keep an eye on this aircraft. So, the sounds have been created by Echo 19. Now, if you don't know who Echo 19 are, I could probably forgive that. Echo 19 have created some absolute jaw-dropping sounds for aircraft for DCS. DCS is a combat simulator, and they've created sounds for the F-14, the F-16, the F-18, the Super Hornet, the Mustang, and the Spitfire, I do believe. And they've now gone into a collaboration with a few flight simulator companies to create sounds for their aircraft. And this, I believe, is the first of those aircraft. Now, Airplane Heaven, this is not their first warbird. Their first warbird, you know, they've done the Spitfire, they've done the Mustang, and I do believe they've done the P-47. This, I believe, is the first aircraft to feature the Echo 19 sound pack as standard for this aircraft, and it is amazing. Now, that's the reason why I brought it to the channel, for your entertainment. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different, because I'm going to do all the audio content, all the me talking at the start with the aircraft not started, because A, the sounds are, in my view, that damn good, and B, the plane is that damn loud, because it is realistic. It is a realistic representation of a Hurricane from World War II. So this is not an aircraft designed for comfort. This is an aircraft designed, well, unfortunately, from the war. So things like, you know, the pilot's hearing, for instance, were not really a requirement to look after the hearing. So it is a very, very loud aircraft. Now, I have started up this aircraft, and I've tried to get the audio set, and I'm hoping that, you know, we're not going to have any issues regarding the sound, because the sound levels should be just about fine for this aircraft. So, first of all, let's jump into the flight simulator side of this. So, like I said, this aircraft was designed by and developed by Airplane Heaven, who, like I said, have created warbirds in the past. This is their latest one. This is the Mark 1 variant of the Hawker Hurricane. So, in their own words, okay, this is version 1, and it does have a few issues. We'll go on to the issues later on in the video, but the features for this particular aircraft are an authentic high-fidelity model built over factory plans. Now, for those of you who don't know, Airplane Heaven have created the Mark 1 Hurricane before for FSX, I do believe. So they've had a little bit of experience delving into the Hurricane. It also has a beautifully crafted, even, detailed features. Well, yeah, it certainly looks like a Hawker Hurricane to me. So, you know, it is very... Actually, it looks really, really fantastic. And you can start to get the sense of the fabric sections here on the fuselage. It looks the part. It looks worn. It looks... I mean, this is the restored variant that we're going to fly for you today. But it still looks an old technology aircraft. So, yeah, it looks the part. It has many unique animations. So many, they didn't list them. An all-new animated World War II British pilot with period-correct Battle of Britain headgear, goggles, and oxygen masks. You can see him right there, and that's our pilot for today. And yes, he looks his part. He looks he looks a little bit tight in there, I must admit, with his leather flying gear. But yeah, he looks the part. I'll give him that. Authentic refueling Bowser and starting cart have been included in this aircraft. Now, if I can't remember. I haven't flown this aircraft that much to click on things. Was it that one? I think. You remember? Oh, that removes the engine cover. So yeah, we'll get the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine sat there, and puts the engine cover on the wings. So we'll click that back. Oh, I can't remember. I found this. I've only flown this a couple of times now, and I can't remember which one. There we go, fuel Bowser. I knew there was a button somewhere around there. So we get an authentic RAF fuel Bowser, connected up to the wing tanks of the Hawker Hurricane. And yes, I mean, it looks the part. I can't deny that, but it really serves no functionality whatsoever other than for maybe some photos. So that button. So I dare say there's other click spots on here that you can add and remove certain things. I know there's one that removes the, I think removes the covers on the wings. Do believe it's this section here that exposes the machine guns. But again, we're Microsoft Flight Simulator. We don't have the access to the guns. What else do we get? Accurate flight dynamics for a challenging experience. Now, this is not like, you know, A to A levels of a study level aircraft, but she be a sod to take off. That Merlin is very, very powerful, and it makes takeoff. Every single takeoff I've had now, which is about 3 or 4 of them now, has been, shall we say, interesting. The torque caused by the engine is just, you know, I mean, it is a very, very... Look after the engine and it will make sure that you will take off properly. Once you get in the air, it's just like any typical warbird, really. We have a full W-Wise sound pack developed by professional, Echo 19, sound studios, faithfully replicates the sounds of the V12 Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. In aviation terms, the Rolls-Royce Merlin, and I know there are people out there that say, oh, the BF-109 sounds better, oh, the P-51 Mustang sounds better, all that kind of stuff. Well, technically it is powered by a Merlin, but that'll be a Packard Merlin. The V12 Rolls-Royce Merlin, of which is sat in there, in reality, is just one of the best-sounding engines in all of aviation, in my view. So we have a beautifully modelled Rolls-Royce Merlin engine beneath removable covers. We just showed that. So I'll just show that again, actually. That's that one, I do believe. Yes. So we have a very, well, I can't blame them. It is a fully accurate rendition of the Merlin engine. From every angle, this is what a Merlin looks like from World War II. It is battered a bit, but then this is a, you know, a World War II spec. aircraft. So, you know, I mean, you can zoom in and you can see all the bits and pieces. Again, you know, it's not, it doesn't add anything, in my view, to the aircraft. You're not going to fly without the covers on or anything, but it is nice to see the depth of detail that Airplane Heaven have gone into with this particular aircraft. So just remove that again, put it back on again. What else do we have? We have standard, tropical, and sea hurricane models included, with 19 liveries for said aircraft. So, even though this is the Mark 1 Hurricane, this is the Battle of Britain Hurricane, there's no 2D tin opener, as they call them, for the desert. But you do have the tropical variant, which had a scoop, I do believe an air scoop, put up here. And we have the Sea Hurricane, which had a arrestor hook slapped somewhere in between here. Most of the repaints are covering the Mark 1 land-based variant of the Battle of Britain theme. You do have the repaints from all the classic pilots that flew the Hurricane in World War II. So they all look pretty much the same. I mean, you've got the standard camouflage, and the letters obviously change, and maybe some of the little tweaks here and there. So there's one of them that has like stripes on it, that kind of thing. Not D-Day stripes or anything like that, but most of them look pretty much like this. So that is the Airplane Heaven Hawker Hurricane Mark 1 in the flight simulator sense. Now, I do love my aviation. I really do. I've been to Duxford a lot, and there's always a Hawker Hurricane sat there, you know, does the displays and all that kind of stuff. Now, people are obviously going to go, oh, well, the Spitfire was the one that saved the British in World War II, in the Battle of Britain, all that kind of stuff. And it gets the fame, and you're right, it does. The Spitfire gets the fame for being quite an elegant looking aircraft. The Hawker Hurricane was designed by Sir Sidney Cam, I do believe, and Sir Sidney Cam and his design team were geniuses. Hawker created some of the best aircraft before the war, and some pretty awesome aircraft during the war as well. The Hurricane is definitely one of them. But where the Spitfire leads itself to look ahead in its development, the Hawker Hurricane definitely is a 1930s design. I can't remember which aircraft it is, whether it's a Hawker Hind, Hawker Demon. There was quite a few of them. But there's a biplane variant of a Hawker aircraft that the fuselage looks extremely like the Hawker Hurricane. If you look at them side on, you're going, that's a Hurricane, it's just got 4 wings. This was a bit of a problem in the fact that the Hawker Hurricane was not able to be developed as much as the Spitfire. The Spitfire, like I said, was the first all-metal interceptor aircraft, fighter aircraft, and obviously had the space and the technology to be developed further and further and further. That's why there's, I don't know, 20-odd, 30-odd marks of bloody Spitfire in the world. The Hawker Hurricane kind of stopped its development probably around I'm going to take a guess, around 1942, 1943, and would become quite an oldish looking aircraft. But if you look at this aircraft from the Battle of Britain point of view, if it wasn't for the Hawker Hurricane, the British would not have, and I'm trying not to be political here, but the British would not have been able to get through the Battle of Britain. The Hawker Hurricane saved our bacon. And I know there's going to be people that are not going to particularly like that statement, but it is correct, because if you look at the kills of every single air defence tactic or air defence piece of equipment, so you're looking at all the fighters, you look at all the flak guns, the balloons, you know, all that kind of stuff, everything. Okay, the Hawker Hurricane is responsible for shooting down more enemy aircraft than every other type of air defence system put together, and that includes the Spitfire. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that the Hawker Hurricane is a better aircraft than the Spitfire, but without it, it would probably be a little bit more difficult for the British in the Battle of Britain. Now, as you can see, this variant of the Hawker Hurricane is armed with 8 303 machine guns. Now, the machine guns, the 303 caliber, it's a bit on the light side. The Spitfire was armed at this time with exactly the same machine gun arrangement of 4 303s in each wing. Against fighters, it's okay as an ammunition. Against bombers, it's a little bit like trying to, you know, the death of 1,000 cuts kind of thing. Unless you hit an engine or, unfortunately, the aircrew, bombers would survive lots and lots of 303 rounds into their fuselages and fly on quite happily. Unfortunately, that's just the way the British was at the time. That's what we armed our... It's essentially a rifle round that's firing out that thing. But there is 8 of them, and there is quite a lot of volume of lead being put forward. So it does its job as an ammunition. Obviously, we moved over to bigger guns, and obviously the Spitfire moved on to the cannons. I can't remember, the 20 mils. I can't remember exactly what cannons were put on it. This Hurricane went on to, as I said earlier, the 2D variant, which was armed with some pretty potent cannons. I think there was a 4-cannon Hurricane, but it was designed as a tin opener, basically as an anti-tank aircraft. This thing would fly ridiculously low and pump into tank shells, tanks, chassis even, gigantic, for aircraft terms, cannon shells. So, you know, that's quite a potent ammunition, but we're talking Battle of Britain here. We're armed with 8 303 machine guns. Now, the reason why the Hawker Hurricane shot down more aircraft during World War II is quite simply put of tactics. The Hawker Hurricane went after the bombers. There's more bombers than there is fighters. The Spitfire would go after the fighters. Not to say the Hawker Hurricane was outclassed by the BF-109 or the BF-110. I had to think about that for a minute. The Hawker Hurricane could hold its own, and actually in a turn fight with the BF-109 could outturn a BF-109 and eventually get itself onto the tail of the BF-109. So, you know, it's still a capable platform, a capable warhorse, shall we say. And I love this thing. I absolutely love it. I've been flying it now, like I say, I think 4 times now in the last couple of days. And the sounds are just amazing. It's a bit of a tricky little sod. Just like I said earlier, get it off the runway. I dare say today's flight is going to be exactly the same. Yes, I will be getting round to it. Don't worry, I'm not just talking all the time. But I am going to... I'm going to talk about a few of the issues, let's say, with this particular aircraft. This is version 1. This has just been released. And I have noticed a few little issues. And I don't know whether you just noticed there was one of the issues right then and there. So if you look at the cockpit section here, you'll notice that the canopy is pushed back. Okay, it's open. And if I get to a certain point there, it's automatically shut. This changes as I zoom in. Okay, so if I zoom in all the way, it doesn't matter, the thing stays open. I have set the canopy to be open, but if I pull back all the way, or quite a bit, there you go, it shuts itself. It hasn't shut, because if I jump inside, the canopy is still open. So that is an issue that we have. Another issue I've noticed is one of the wheels will disappear. This is very annoying. I noticed this when trundling down the runway here at RAF Coningsby. And I looked at an external view, because again, I love the sounds of this thing, and one of the wheels had disappeared. It's quite weird to see the leg. We see the undercarriage cover, but we don't see the wheel. The wheel is still there. The aircraft hasn't fallen over or anything, but for some reason the wheel wasn't there. So that's another issue. If we go inside, well, God, where's the mixture? Yeah, mixture, down here. Yes, I can't remember where it was then. Okay, that's the throttle lever. This is the mixture lever, and I've set mixture axis, as most people do, and it doesn't quite respond properly. You've got the rich and the weak section, but it doesn't quite... I don't know, it just doesn't... I don't know whether it's because I'm not doing 100% of the axis, if you know what I mean. I've got an, obviously, I'm using the Thrustmaster, what am I using? Warthog, that's it, yes, Warthog system. And I have my little axis lever here mounted and working, and it just it doesn't respond, I don't think, properly. But that could be down to me. I'm not 100% yet on that one. Moving on to the cockpit, I suppose we'll move on to the cockpit. It is very colourful. I like it. A little bit of aged materials here and there. Obviously, the seat, not exactly built for comfort, but it is a warbird. Bits and pieces do work. Buttons do make sounds. Again, that's part of the sound pack that came from Echo 19, so they have worked with a Hawker Hurricane. It does sound the part. Yeah, it's not study level by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a very good aircraft, nevertheless. Right, so let's work this one out. So, like I said, I was going to do this video a little bit differently. I'm going to get all the content that I can talk about over now, and then I'm going to shut up, and thankfully I know a lot of people are going to say that, and I'm going to take this out for a flight. And we're going to do a little display here over RAF Coningsby. Now, why RAF Coningsby? Well, if you don't know what that building is there, then, well, you know, I mean, everyone's heard about this. This is the hangar for the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, based here at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire, home of, you guessed it, a Hawker Hurricane. I do believe a couple of Hawker Hurricanes, if I can't say it right. Spitfire, and also one of the two airworthy Lancasters, the Avro Lancaster bomber. So we don't have them here on the sim, but this is the area where you can park, literally where those cars are, and you can watch these warbirds for real. So we have Hawker, I'm obsessed. We have Typhoon sat in the background, and we have a Hawker Hurricane. So this is the, you know, the past meets the future. Well, the past meets the present. So I'm going to now shut up, and like I said, we're going to start this up. We're going to taxi out this way out to the main runway, which is just off that way, I do believe. And we're going to do a little display here in the Hawker Hurricane. I do apologise now for the takeoff. The takeoff is going to be horrendous because it just is. But yes, I'm now going to shut up, and you can now listen to what essentially, in my view, is one of the best sounding warbirds here on Microsoft Flight Simulator. So, there we go. I'll get the view to work properly. The Airplane Heaven Hawker Hurricane Mark 1. Now, like I said, this is a channel for VFR stroke general aviation aircraft, and that will not change. However, occasionally there is going to be a sneaky little project like this that just sneaks its way in, and I think is worthwhile putting on the channel. Now, I know this has been a long video, but the Hawker Hurricane is an iconic piece of aviation from World War II, and I think Airplane Heaven with Echo 19 have created an all-round great warbird here for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and I think it is amazing. Yes, she's a tricky little sod. You saw the takeoff, you saw the landing. She is definitely a handful. Now, this is version 1 of the Hawker Hurricane. I know that, like I say, the parts that I've noticed, the glitches, shall we say, I don't know whether they're trying to be fixed, but I know there is an update in the works, and it's not going to be far away. So I'll be interested to see what gets changed. I hope that, you know, the bits where, like I say, I zoom in and the cockpit opens and I zoom out and the cockpit shuts. I didn't show the missing wheel, which I've only noticed on landing. And the, like I say, the mixture controls, that again, that could be down to me, that could be down to the aircraft. I'm not 100% yet. Haven't had much chance to check up on that. But I will be very interested to see just what Airplane Heaven come up with for the next version of their Hawker Hurricane. Now, Echo 19 even, they will be releasing sound packs for other aircraft. I know the CH-47 Chinook is apparently going to get a sound pack, or has a sound pack. Again, I haven't tinkered with that helicopter. The F-35, I believe, I'm running off the top of my head here, I'm sure is going to get a sound pack as well. So it's, if you value your sounds in Flight Simulator, and you like your military aircraft at the moment, just check out what Echo 19 are looking at doing, because they add another degree to the Flight Simulator experience. So, I hope you found this video informative. I know, I do apologise, this is not the normal content that I normally like to create, and we will be going back to general aviation aircraft for the next video. If you have any questions or comments about this particular aircraft, about my wonderful flying skills and lack of skills when it comes to takeoff and landing, please put them below, and I will respond to every single comment that I get. And I shall see you guys and girls in the future for some more Flight Simulator content very, very soon.